Fellas, y'all, we are at a year though.
Yeah.
Wow.
A
A whole
year.
year.
Oh, yeah.
That's what's up.
A whole year. Well, good afternoon, good morning, good evening, depending on where you're coming on in the world globally. My name is Charles. I am the host. I am your millennial. I'm representing the millennial generation. To my far left, I have representing Generational Z, Savion Anderson.
What up?
To my close left, I have my brother representing Generational X, Fred Womble. And to my right, I do have the baby boomer, Doc Rhedrick. Y'all, we been at it a year. We ain't got canceled yet.
Hey.
We ain't got
Wanna do
canceled.
Yeah, or block.
Look, last episode was about past and present. Past and present. And the generational gem came from my brother Chris Wilson. And it was, it won't be this way always. It won't be this way always.
That was profound. You said our last episode was chock full of, past, present, and very interesting discussion. But the discussion we had, actually your topic on the Divine Nine and their contribution to the Black church. We heard from you guys who are watching, so thank you for watching and checking us out. But we wanted to add a little clarity to that, not to relitigate anything, but just clarity to the fact of the matter. We understand the presence and prominence of those sororities and fraternal organizations, and even, going outside to the Eastern Stars or whatever. But our aim was to make sure that I think we're all in agreement that that's not the means to the end. Our ultimate allegiance always is to our God. Nobody, we ain't say renounce your letters and none of that stuff, but we just want you to walk away with the fact and understanding that it's a mission field. Everywhere we go, we're seasoned territory for our Lord and our King. Those are vehicles that we can use to do that. And we just want to make sure you were clear in understanding that we love you. Do your thing. Continue to serve and love others, and but keep God first in everything.
Keep the main thing the main thing.
Simply put.
Yeah.
Simply put.
Yeah.
Look, y'all, the pot had already been hot last month. We're going to keep it hot. But this episode is The Cross Reaches All. The cross reaches all. And with that being said, I'm going to pass it over to my brother Fred, because he's going to jump us off today.
Jump us off deep in.
Yeah, deep in it.
Right. So, and just for you guys who may not be aware, we have a pre-production meeting that we do. So we take this seriously. So know that we put in the work, put in the time to deliver authentic content that we think glorifies our God and allows us as people to draw closer to one another. So we had to, I can be a little wordy, but we had to cobble it down to a statement saying, and my statement is this: the Black church does not need to code switch to witness. And again, that was an edited version because my original version read like this, and I think it gives a little bit of some layers to it and some nuance to it. The Black church shouldn't have to mute, unseason, or unmelanate itself to be a faithful witness for Christ, or to be effective in ushering in the world into the kingdom, or to be considered sound in its theology and doctrine. And I say that, and I share that because there is the church universal, which is beautiful. It's an array of races, nationalities, cultures, which is a beautiful thing. We turn to Revelation, we see every tongue, every nation, every tribe will worship the Lord and the Lamb, and it's a celebratory coming of all of us together. But I believe that there's, at times, it seems like there's a push for the Black church to be seen more palatable or acceptable once we back off of some of those traditional things that we hold, our gospel music. Maybe we start doing the Hillsong more versus doing the foot stompers or whatever. Everybody's worship expression is their worship expression in their cultures. But I don't think, I think the beauty of the Black church is its wide array, its history, it's how we worship, how we serve, how we lead. It's not better than anybody's, it's just different. And puts me in the mind of, why we have HBCUs. They're historically Black colleges and universities. FMBC is a historically Black church. That doesn't say that, our white brothers, our Asian brothers, our Native brothers aren't welcome here. That's not what it says. But it says that it gives you an identifier of at least an idea of the type of worship you're going to, encounter. We're going to have some drums, We're going to have some, it's the expression of our worship is a little different. And I think it's just as valid as any other. Our teaching is sound. Not just, I'm talking about First specifically, but I'm talking about the Black church universal. or at large. It's sound theologically, because being real, there are some who view our tradition as kind of emotive, just more about emotion and just, hooping, and no, there's sound doctrine, So I feel it's sometimes put down when it should be lifted up on par with any other expression, because we're all preaching the same death, burial, and resurrection of the one church. It's just in our flavor. So we don't have to provide aid and comfort. And don't get twisted. So I know I'm going to leave it. I'm going to leave right there, because I don't want to go ahead and litigate everything. But that's my statement. Who coming for me?
Savion.
I'm going to go first. And can you repeat that last segment of your statement?
Man, you should have caught me when I was going, bro.
I didn't want to
what close? Give me an approximate where I was with it.
Well, you was like, receiving aid and like giving out to like other churches and stuff like that. Not only churches, but to the community. And I feel like where you're going with it, like inside the black church, like you said, like it's historically black church and all that. But like I like to look at it as like not only like historical, but like as like people come from like different generations and stuff like that. Like the way they come in and create change. And like you said, like we don't got to do the foot stomp, we don't got to praise break and all that. But I feel like as a community, not just as a church, that like no matter their color, should come in to different, not necessarily situations, but come in different spaces and kind of like leave off their love per se. And like I don't mean to like bash anybody or like throw off their traditions or whatever, but I feel like we should all give in to one thing and make it better for each other.
Sure. A welcoming environment for all. Yeah, I'm with you. I got you. I hear you. My bad.
So can I get some definition?
Yes, sir. You can. Yeah.
All right.
Let me guess. First one's code switch.
Nope.
Oh, dang. That's one I was prepared for. What you got, Doc?
I figure you would be that one.
One step ahead.
That's it.
Yes, sir.
All right. The black church. Define.
The church tradition that came since our arrival here in America. The expression of our the black church only exists because of the conditions in which we found ourselves.
Right. But give me a definition. You give me a description.
Yeah,
you don't
okay.
give me a definition.
The black church is the ecclesia of God, who identify and share a similar cultural experience that's manifested in their cultural expression of worship.
Did you understand that, Savion?
Somebody got it.
No, neither
Tap
did
in
I.
comments. Y'all heard me. I put that together
Gen
pretty
Z
nice.
and BB didn't get that. Millennium may have got that.
Okay.
Savion and I were looking at each other like what?
A little bit too googly for me.
Shut up, man. Google's your friend.
That was deep, so deep we couldn't even get there. Yeah.
And you know what? It's difficult. It is difficult to define.
Well, then why are you using it?
Because it's what we've known.
Then what is it?
The black church is the collective black experience here in America that's formed through generations of trial, success, setback, everything else that is unique to African Americans.
Okay.
That's a unique experience and a unique expression of our God and how we express his salvation, his grace and his mercy from our cultural context.
All right, so now go ahead and define code switching.
Okay, thank you. Look. He done got me rattled. Got me flustered over here.
Okay, so shaking in your boots. Huh?
No, because I got an Oxford English Dictionary definition of code switching. And I believe, look, like you, I know where you're going with it, bro. Code switching is a process of shifting from one linguistic code, language or dialect, to another, depending on the social context or conversational setting.
Now, weave those two together. So you're saying that the black church should not?
No. Well, yeah. And what I'm saying is there are times where we need, because like Paul, right? To the Greek, he became Greek to win souls. Right. There are, that's why I told you I had to spell out we reduced it down. But that's why I said in my larger original statement was we shouldn't have to put it this way. Maybe I could have added a word. Shouldn't have to always mute, unseason, or unmelanate our expression. Are there times when we need to present a more a broader, I don't know what you want to call it, a broader image or a broader message or a broader way in which we do it? Sure, because we want to win all. We want to win all souls.
How you gonna win all if you going with Savion? If you're narrowing your description of who you are.
Well, the first off, it's not that the church itself doesn't save anybody. It's a move of God. So if we're preaching the same gospel,
but the barrier that he's talking about is up with your label.
Well, and so let's talk about that. In modern days, most people, I don't say everybody, but most people understand. That's why I use the example of HBCUs. You know what you get when you go to HBCU. There are white graduates of HBCUs. There are people who have law schools and everything. So you know it's not restrictive of anybody. It's welcome of everybody. It's just that if that's your flavor, that's where you go. Likewise with the church, if that's the black church, if that gospel flavor that's interwoven into the worship is your flavor, that's where you go. Okay. You know what I'm saying? Just like the Korean church exists or the Nicaraguan church exists. They
and
exist
is that the
in
way
their
we
expression.
should exist?
No. No. But I don't think it's detrimental to the furthering of the gospel. Because just getting a different flavor of the cultural expression. Somebody who is a Spanish speaker that grew up in a Spanish speaking household probably wants to go to a place where the worship is filled with Spanish speakers.
So how does McDonald's and Target do it?
I don't eat McDonald's, so because
wherever you go.
Okay.
Yeah.
So where are you going with that? Talk to me.
Well, no, I mean, and I get where you're going.
I know you do.
Yeah. And but when I say how does Target or McDonald's, those corporate kind of things, coast to coast, global, sort of say their brand. Okay. When you go into, let's say, a McDonald's in an African American neighborhood, is it the same menu? And
it is.
When you go into your European. So my question is, how do they do that?
Yeah.
Okay, you
I got
follow
you.
what I'm saying?
And
it's not code switching.
Right.
They don't change their fries to mama and them fries.
Right. They're just fries.
You know what I mean? But they don't change their Big Mac too.
Sure. And to push your analogy further, when you gave Target, I walk into Target during Black History Month, and it's that first display when you walk in the door is all African. I mean, so they're making a conscious effort to attract. So there are things
and that's why I was just pushing.
Understand, and and that's the thing, because and to be honest with you, what really set me off, but started to think about this was I saw an interview with Van Lathan. Y'all know him with TMZ. He was speaking with Emmanuel Alcho, and Emmanuel's got his platform, and he had mentioned something about when it comes to race and reconciliation, how he said he doesn't suffer the generational trauma of chattel slavery that Van and others would have. So when he goes to other spaces and talks about reconciliation, that audience is more receptive to his conversation. Because he said because he doesn't have the bitterness and the angst behind it. So Van came back with, and that's where I got the unmelanated, unseasoned, because Van took his I understand what you're saying. It's one approach, but this approach that may have not so much vitriol but have some oomph behind it is just as valid and just as worthy of being put on the table. So we shouldn't have to water down to make high dignity for others' comfort. You know what I'm saying?
Well, then you go with your Paul statement when he said, "To the Jew I became a Jew," right? To the weak I became weak. All right. So there is and then over in, I believe it's 1 Corinthians, the 8th chapter, I believe it's there, where he talks about how you behave in certain settings. And so we can't always follow a secular model in how we make our attraction to be attractive, okay? There are some things that should change if that's your audience, okay, and not to leave anybody out, as Savion was sort of pushing. You know, sometimes we say, well, this is what we're going to do. That's because we're a black church. You follow what I'm saying? So you hold too firm to that, and you do lose people who would walk through that door because you took, that's just how we're going to be, because that's how we've always been. And the reason I was asking you to define the black church, we have to look at the history in which it came out of.
Sure.
And the reason why it had to take the stances it did then.
Sure.
We also have to understand that we need to adapt to the culture as the culture is adapting, and not hold so firmly to, well, this is the way we used to do things, and that's, we got to hold on to that at all costs. And we're seeing the decline, especially in African American churches who hold to that kind of tradition. You know, we're not going to have drums, or we are going to have drums. We're going to have this kind of music. We're not going to have this kind of music, because they then start making traditions biblical. All right, and it's not. And Jesus said, you know, clearly, he says, you trample the word of God for the tradition of men.
Right.
And so that's my only push. You know, it's a fine line.
It is. It
you
is.
know, in which it must be walked. But we can't hold it to the detriment of the church.
Sure.
Okay, and
Right.
I
totally get it.
That's the total stance.
Yes, sir. Yeah. And I'm with you. I think we're more in agreement than we're in disagreement.
Right.
And it's we have to hold both. And you know what I look at is, you know, like you said, the black church came out of the culture in which it was in. I mean, even now in present day America, you know, there's, you know, we're still fighting certain things and pushing for certain things, the dignity and the, you know, those things that
and that's not just a black thing.
Understood.
As great as it was then. You follow?
Yes, sir. Understood.
So yeah, and so that's the thing I'm saying. I mean, I've heard some folks say, well, you know, we are this and this is who we're going to be, and you know, we're not going to be any other way, and that's not healthy.
Sure.
And so we have to be able to understand this is where we were, celebrate our history, okay, but don't get stuck.
Amen. For sure, because we look at Pentecost, right? That was when the revival was fueled by the Holy Spirit, right? And it just spilled over into the streets. I mean, we can see that in the text. But there were people from many nations, and then the Holy Spirit spoke to them, gave them the good news in their own language. That's the side, you know, where I'm coming from. Is like
that was code switching.
Exactly. But see, God spoke to them. That's why I didn't want that, but we couldn't think of a better word. But that's why God identified and spoke to them in their own languages to show them that, look, your who you are is who I made you.
Right.
And I'm speaking to you. So, you know, what it wound up doing was taking a diverse group and making it all inclusive. Right. And that's why I love the beauty of him.
That was the reverse of Babel.
Exactly. Yeah. Babel in reverse. Exactly. Yeah. So, and that's, you know, that's what I focus and my lean is to, you know, because if we look globally, hierarchically, because of sin that came into the world, let's keep it 100. We ranked races, you know, and you know, the least and lost and left behind are typically gradations from, you know, the white standard down, you know. So, and I know that he came to set the free, the oppressed free, and different things like that. So that's really where my heart lies in that. And I get what you're saying, because first is welcoming to everybody. Every church that I know in the community, I don't think I've ran into one that said we don't want white folks or Asian folks here. But you know, there's a fine line, like you said. You gotta keep what's valuable in the tradition in the past, but it's all moving us forward to the kingdom. It's got to move us forward to the kingdom. So Christ risen, crucified, coming again, point blank. If we got gospel, you got folk music, hey, to God's glory.
Yeah, and like going back to what Doc was saying. Sorry, I'm gonna cut you off.
No,
but
you
like,
good.
Going back to what Doc was saying about like remembering the past, but also moving forward. Like think of the human way humans have evolved. Like we went from monkeys to growing and stuff like that.
Wait a minute.
The animal. Okay?
You saying we evolved?
Like we had to evolve like throughout.
Did humans evolve from monkeys to humans?
You know, stepped in it, boy.
Okay, no. I mean, phrase that. Okay. So
I just want to know where we are.
Okay.
That's your side of the family.
That took a turn.
It took a turn. Yeah, it did.
Well, I'm just trying to create a connection between like evolution. Like you said, you
Stop right there.
Define evolution.
I knew that was coming.
I'm ready for it.
Let's get it.
So evolution is growing for the better good or to change to help
So everything that evolves change for good?
Good or bad, just to creating change in an environment.
Now, is create and evolve the same?
No.
Okay, so you can't use create to define evolve.
Doc is on the you on one today, boy. So, but in your defense,
yeah,
you're talking about like how we grow, as human beings, grow.
Yeah.
So
stay there. Just stay there.
Yeah, don't. Yeah, I
drop,
got you.
Drop, evolve.
I got you,
and
little
just go as we grow as people.
There you go.
And develop and mature.
Okay, so as we grow as people, like we have to, not to say have to, but like we have to. What's the word I'm looking for? Like you said, like Doc said, remembering the past, and like so
Celebrate.
as we grow as people, we have to grow as the history and as the faith inside the church.
Yeah, for sure.
And matured forward.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah. Okay.
You got, hey Charles, you got what you got on this? Is anything left?
No,
That thing been picked bare.
it had no, it hasn't.
Okay.
Because I want to go back to a point Doc made. Because I think I'm learning with Black History Month. I try to learn something new that I didn't know. And not because I want to learn my history just for 1 month, but because I didn't know that. That's something good to know. And when we think back, and I'm just going to say the Civil Rights Movement, that's one of the biggest movements that, a lot of people talk about, in U.S. history. It's the Civil Rights Movement, even though we had so many other movements historically before we got over here. And listening to Dr. King's I Have a Dream speech, a lot of people miss where he said he wants my Black son, my Black daughter, holding hands with a white brother and sister, an Asian brother and sister. And he could have added on so many other
but
other
the picture
people.
was painted.
And when I was listening, I was like, wait, we got to pause and back up and remember he wasn't just a civil rights activist. He was a minister.
Right.
So the same people that he was talking to, hey, I want to hold hands out here in public, we also got to do that in the building. Because if we're not willing enough to do it in the kingdom, if we're not willing enough to come to the church and we say we churchy,
Right.
but we don't want to help our brother and sister, and that's where I always say, hey, let me remember my past because they did it before me. So now how, like Savion, what does it look like? For us, me and Savion, we might throw on some Lecrae, KB, Hillsong United. We might throw that on to bring my white brother or my white sister or my Asian brother or my Asian sister along and say, hey, y'all welcome here in FMBC. And I love the fact that we do have a church home that is willing and able to say, come on in. And that's why I always bring up the grocery giveaway. I wish people would come see it because we don't put, if we put a sign out there and just say it, Black folks only, we're going to have the news out there come, well, why do y'all only want this race of people?
But more importantly, God's not glorified in that.
Right.
That's not, that's giving him bad PR.
But
people act like that.
Our culture and the whole in the church is needed. It's welcoming. It's important that we have it. That don't mean we all come from the same, because not all Black people come from the same churches. Some are AME, some are Pentecostal, some are Kojic, just like your other people with different skin tones. They come from AME, Pentecostal, Kojic, Baptist, and things like that. And so we need to be welcoming, not just here at FMBC, but everywhere. Because if we say, well, we love Jesus, Jesus was welcoming to all.
He gets us.
And it's sad that at one point all only meant your group of people that you were in the neighborhood with, or look,
because others weren't looked at as human, and that's how you could exclude us from the all.
For my older generations, they might say, look, First Missionary was the only church we could go to. We couldn't go. We couldn't walk to.
And that's the point I was making, Charles, about that's the past. And so we can celebrate that. We're thankful that we had an opportunity to worship somewhere else, even though that thankfulness comes out of
fear.
And all that brought it. But now that if we're going to move this culture needle forward, we've got to lead that.
Sure.
In making that happen. So yeah.
And going along with that, I know we're beating this one up, but
Right.
and that was a part of it too. Is I believe in terms of holding that past, I think we do our non-Black brothers and sisters a disservice when you don't go in fully to express and to show the Black experience or the Blackness represented in the Bible. We hear about the Ethiopian eunuch, right? But we don't take the time to to really dig down in there about the Ethiopian, what the Ethiopian meant, burnt face, right, and just the the depth of Simon the Cyrene, and
and then you get the others who go too far.
Understood.
Yeah. And like
but
you said,
I believe it's a history of that part of the history. Even we as Black people aren't exposed to, but I believe it gives God even more glory when we're able to tell those stories and really do a deeper dive. Simon the Cyrene, and explain what a Cyrene was. So now we're undoing the sin and that devil had put into the mix to pollute the water, to keep us from seeing each other as the Imago Dei, created in the image of God.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Beautiful. Yeah. All right, who's next up, Charles?
Oh yeah.
Ooh, that one been beat up. Let's get it.
Okay. Look. Mine's is next, and it actually jumps right off your topic, Fred. The churches should not turn away people due to their personal differences. Churches should not turn away people due to their personal differences.
Okay.
And so I started looking through the Bible of different texts that we may have turned away people or looked at them a certain type of way, because it happened biblically. When I was reading these texts and studying them, I said, whoa, wait a minute. This just ain't happening in 2023.
Right.
This happened then. One of the first stories is about, it's Mark 12, 41, 44. 40, verses 41 through 44. And it's about the widow's offering. And I'm going to actually go to the text so I can give y'all what actually happened in the text.
Any pre-sermonic selection?
Because it threw me that I should have read this text a little deeper. I've heard it, but sometimes you got to go read stuff for yourself. And it says here in 41 through 44. There it is. I knew I had it highlighted. Jesus, I'm going to start at verse 38. Jesus continued teaching. He said, be careful of the teachers of the law. They like to walk around wearing clothes that look important, and they love for people to show respect to them in the marketplace. They love to have the most important seats in the synagogues and the places of honor at banquets. But they cheat widows and take their homes. Then they try to make themselves look good by saying long prayers. God will punish them very much. Jesus sat near the temple with a collection box and watched as people put money into it. Many rich people put in a lot of money. Then a poor widow came and put in two very small copper coins worth less than a penny. Jesus called his followers to him and said, this poor widow put in only 2 small coins, but the truth is she gave more than all those rich people. They have plenty and they gave only what they did not need. This woman is very poor, but she gave all she had. It was money she needed to live on. A lot of times when we look at the church and who we see coming in, we look at from the clothes that they got on to even John 8, 1 through 9. We start casting stones. Doc, you always say that. We pull up stuff from 30 years ago to throw stones at people. And then with John 7:24, we got to stop judging people so much. Don't judge them so much on the front end or what they've done or how they looking or why they act that way, why they kids loud, why this, why that. Then I went to Matthew 8, 1 through 4, when Jesus heals. Sometimes we got to be the healing for people And we might be the Jesus that they only see. So before we judge them or throw stones at them or say, oh, they ain't driving they ain't got no nice car. Why they clothes filthy and raggy?
Mm-hmm.
Before we throw stones and judge people and treat them bad, let's give them love. And a lot of times church people will be the first. They walking in with gym shorts and a T-shirt. Where they coming from? Why they look raggedy? Why they ain't driving in a nicer car? Why they ain't got all these degrees? And a lot of times maybe they just fell short like we did. Maybe they just made some mistakes and got tripped up to where they don't even see Jesus to help save them. And when you walking in the door, why they smell like alcohol? Why they smell like weed? And we might be the only person they see that got a little bit of Jesus. So before we go judging them and casting stones, because in my Bible, Jesus clearly said, he who has sinned, let them cast the first stone. And I think all of us brothers can attest. We all sinned somewhere. Last night, like you was preaching about in the text. You know, some of us sinned last night. Some of us was sinning a week ago. I'm gonna be honest. I fell short yesterday. I can keep it real with me.
Say amen. Say out.
I can be real. I made a mistake at work, and I had to apologize to that person because I fell short. But at least they didn't cast a stone or pass judgment, or they could have cussed me out, and vice versa. And so that's where I feel us as believers, if we're gonna be foolish, we got to be foolish enough to say, wait a minute, the same grace and mercy that was given to me, the same way I fell short. It's the same grace and mercy I should give to somebody else. Because when they come to the cross, Jesus is not going to see what they got on. Clearly, he didn't care about how much floss you had.
Right.
Because he even told the rich people, y'all ain't really giving me, y'all giving me
out of your abundance.
Out of your abundance. Yeah. She giving me everything. Out of faith.
Yeah, everything she got.
Saying, I don't know if this going to work out, how it's going to turn out, but Lord, I'm going to trust you.
I trust you.
And sometimes we got to get back to trusting God instead of trusting what our pocketbook, bank account, and
even our eyes see.
Eyes see. Yep.
Yeah, that's deep.
So your topic again was churches should not turn away people due to personal differences?
Yes.
Yep.
Okay. All right.
Define personal differences.
Nah, he did it.
Nah, I'm messing with you.
I know. Go ahead, Fred. Go ahead.
Nah, let's say. Go ahead and jump on that, bro.
I totally agree with what you're saying. I understand where you're trying to go with it. We see different people from what they do in their life or how they live their life and how they want to come to church. I can take it from just my generation in general. We like to just kind of fight for what we think is right. And personally, I think we shouldn't have to come to church a certain way. Because we're all here for the same reason, and that's to give God glory. Yeah.
Very good statement. I think it's very straightforward. This is a hospital for sin-sick souls. And we're all in our healing process. And it's called the sanctification. So I have no reason to look at that young lady who comes in, with the short dress on or whatever, who may have just, the Lord allowed her to come from the club straight here. Who am I to get in the way of what move he's trying to make in her life? Other than to express the love of Christ for her. Says, I'm so glad you're here. Can we help you anything you need? To maintain her dignity so that she can get what she needs, not from, through us, but it's ultimately from the source.
Yep.
From God. So I don't want to be that type of believer that blocks anybody from receiving what God has, called them to and for them, because we got to stand in account of that.
Yep.
One day, because, we don't know when we're ministering to angels.
Right.
So with those people who don't, and we ought to be about, like you said, what wise man once told me, a good shepherd must smell like sheep. You got to be close to the sheep. And sheep are notoriously filthy, and they're not the smartest. They're prone to making the same mistakes over and over, but the good shepherd will leave the 99 to go pursue the one, and walk with them and anoint their heads with oil to get rid of the bacteria and the bugs and stuff that inhabit them, and shear them, cut back the wool and shepherd them beside the waters, because they could fall in the water, they're going to drown, So we need to be those good shepherds and be more intent on that kingdom directive versus a more cultural, secular kind of look at it. Things got to look a certain way. You look the part.
Mm-hmm.
No, it ain't about looking the part. It's about being the part, being who he's created you to be. And you can only be that once with the indwelt power of the Holy Spirit within you. And if we got it, I got to give it to somebody.
Mm-hmm.
We got a great commission, you got a great commandment, and you got a great requirement, which is at Micah 6:8, to love justice, do justice, love mercy, that's all incumbent on all of us.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm right there with you, bro.
Yeah. So define churches.
Well, he on one and they ain't.
We know it, man.
So-
we ain't ready for it.
Define churches.
Yeah, because you open up with churches, if I read your statement, should not turn away people due to personal differences. So what do you mean when you say churches?
When I say churches, I mean those that proclaim Christ to be Christ, and those that come in and say, hey, Christ is my Savior, Jesus is the only way, and we're going to follow him with all our heart, soul, and might.
All right. So then that sound like church people. Now, because there's a difference between church people and Christians or followers. Okay.
Yeah.
And a lot of times we hear people where the church does this and the church does that, like it's this institution, vaguely not made up of anything, but this energy or force or whatever, right? And so your statement gives that vagueness.
Okay.
Churches, okay, and which then paints the brush on church universal. All right. When more or less, I think you're speaking of certain kinds of people in churches who have a self-righteous disposition, okay, which then reflects that on to those who come in. If they don't pass that bag test, you don't get in here, whatever that bag is, whether it's the hue of your skin or the color of your car or the football team you celebrate, or
Cowboys.
Or
the literal or the bag, the
right,
money bag,
the money bag, right?
Yeah.
So whatever test you don't pass, you see, and so that's why I say you have to define that, because that broadness, you can get a lot of sound bite with that, but it doesn't draw any definition to whom you're really talking about. So that allows that person to escape. Okay. So basically, the person you describe are the self-righteous of the church. Is probably, I'm not trying to put words in your mouth, but if that's whom you're talking about, then your statement stands. But if you just put the church, I don't think you can say the whole church does that.
Yeah.
Would you agree with that?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. And so there is that self-righteousness, and that's who Jesus was chastising in that story that you read, a parable that you read about the widow woman. He was talking about the self-righteous, those whose money and their power and being is how they would judge people. And so he's basically saying, okay, you're judging her based on her inability to give in the incremental amount that you gave. Okay, but when he's saying God is looking at a different incremental amount, he's looking at your heart. All right. She gave from the heart, you gave from your hip. Okay. Yeah. And so you based it on how much you had on your hip. You say, okay, I can throw that in there, because the only thing you're doing is competing with the other person who threw that in there. So it becomes a contest. Yeah. So that's the only, I guess you can say, correction or clarification I would have, is not to blanket the whole church. Let's call a spade a spade. Okay. The self-righteous of the church, and they're there, and so we have to pray for them because they can do more damage, all right, than they can do good. Yeah, because that do more harm than good.
And going with your definitions, right? You had brought it up, Doc, about the institution. That group is more inclined to be a part of the institutional aspect of the church, right? And that's where you get a lot of that. we're this kind of church, and we got
Right.
this expectation,
and that's the point.
and Jesus is talking about the ecclesia.
That's
you know
it.
what I mean?
Yeah.
And that's why I'm glad you helped
Yep.
bring that correction to
Yep.
the fore,
Right.
because they're two discernible different groups.
And they should be, but oftentimes when that phrase is used like that,
It's an umbrella word.
It lumps
Yeah.
us all in
Everybody,
there,
yeah.
and
Yeah.
it doesn't give credit where credit is
It
due.
doesn't do us justice
Yeah.
for those who are really the people of God,
Right.
who have sold out to the kingdom ethic,
right.
and that is what their guiding
That's
principle
it.
is. So our standard definitely is totally different than that one, because
That's
that
it.
one's a worldly standard. Our standard is one of love, grace, mercy, peace, self-control, that bears forth the fruit of the Spirit,
Yeah.
in a way that we all received it,
Right.
because He saw beyond our faults and met us.
Yeah.
And,
All right.
and the reason why I brought this is because I finally learned about the whole radical hospitality. Really reading the Cast in the First Stone. Because if you're going to be radical with your hospitality, sometimes you got to stop and say to yourself, I can't judge them.
Right.
Because if if you walk up judging somebody or saying what they ain't doing, they don't want to hear. Like
Right.
you said, they don't. That's it. They cut off.
Right.
What you could get back is a whole lot of words and fists if you come at them the wrong way, because you don't know what somebody's dealing with or going through.
Right.
And I realized that, especially working with people, I'm like, I gotta give them love first.
Absolutely.
I gotta ask them how they doing, how they feeling, before I come at them. Well, can you do this? Can you do that? Can you? Because if you just come to somebody asking them to do stuff, can you at least ask me how I'm doing? Can you pray for me? Can you give me some love? Give me a hug? Do something.
Right.
And
Folks don't care how much you know till they know how much you care.
Yeah.
And not just the physical things you could hurting somebody's feelings or whatever. Think about it more deeply.
Right.
You may have, again, we talked about it, get in the way of them getting what they needed
Right.
Yep.
from the
That's
Lord.
it.
Their salvation was on
Absolutely.
the line that day,
On the
that you
line.
decided not to speak when they
Right.
walked on the parking lot.
Yeah.
You decided to elbow Sister so-and-so. Now they walked away,
Right.
but the salvation was here waiting.
Right.
God
the
had
devil
predestined.
got another one.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. And it came from the inside.
Yeah, and that's the hurting thing
Yeah.
right there.
Yeah, that's why I'm glad you did that example this month.
Hurting
Yeah.
thing.
During your sermon.
Right.
Because people, oh Lord, Rev got wine out. and I love the fact that you was willing enough to say this month, y'all, I got it from the same place y'all be getting y'all. Why y'all looking at me all strange?
Matter of fact, I saw you on aisle number 4.
And no, it was a great example because you can see not physical stones being thrown, but
Right.
hey, look, Rev.
Yeah.
They was already throwing the stone before you even got to your. Wait a minute, hold up. I got my, that's why I'm glad you made that. I got mine. Well, y'all got yours. What y'all looking at me all strange for?
That's what's up.
Yeah. All right, so who's next up?
Who was up? Oh, Lil Bro.
Uh-oh.
No, actually, it's you, Doc. Stop.
Yeah,
Oh,
no.
it's me?
Uh-huh.
Oh, okay.
Uh-oh.
Doc.
All right.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, y'all sound like y'all sitting on ready.
Talk to us, man. Talk to us, Doc.
Okay.
Uh-oh, Doc.
All right.
Tell us something.
We are damaging Generation Z by coddling them. Now, the we I'm talking about is any generation older than them.
Okay.
Okay? Whether you're in the church, outside the church, everybody's included.
Okay.
Okay? All right. Now, finish this statement for me. What doesn't kill you makes you
Stronger.
okay. That's what we would say.
Mm-hmm.
All right. But for Generation Z, what doesn't kill them in their reality makes them weaker.
Yep.
Right?
Mm.
Okay. All right. Now, and to identify that group, that's going to be born from 1995 to 2012. Okay. You really can call them the I generation. Not for iPhone, for internet.
Mm.
Okay.
Okay.
Huh?
All right. Now, let me say this little disclaimer before my Gen Zs get all over me on this, because I know y'all coming for
like
me.
this.
Right.
Uh-huh.
What I'm saying here, they didn't create the problem. Their parents did,
Mm.
and their grandparents. Okay. we have made them more fragile than they need to be. All right. And by our coddling them, by trying to protect them from the world. Okay. For instance, how many of you remember about peanut allergies?
Mm-hmm.
I learned about it recently. Yeah.
Okay. All right. So when did that sort of come on the scene? I think it was
2000 maybe.
I think it was in the mid 90s.
Wow. Okay.
Okay. Is when it came on the scene,
Okay.
right? And the report I saw is that when they ran the tests, or you know how they do research and things of that nature, they found out that I think it was like 4 in 1,000 had peanut allergies. Okay. All right. 4 in 1,000.
0.0004%.
Right. Yeah. Have peanut allergies. Yeah. But what happened is parents and institutions say, you know what? We need to say no peanuts in school. Right? You started right there. So you wipe out peanuts, and then they went and carried it even further, right? That anything made in a peanut factory.
Yep.
Right? Could get even closer. You could have a building over here where peanuts are made and a building over here, but because somebody from over there could walk over to this building over here, all right, ban it. All right? So then by, I think it was 2012 or 2008, I think it was, about 10 years later, they ran the same test again, and it had risen from 4% to 17%.
Wow.
And the problem they determined was because kids weren't exposed to it, they couldn't build up the immune system to fight it.
Yep.
So now they're fragile because of it. And we have caused that. All right? We have caused that. And let's go over a little bit further. So that was their immune system, right? All right. So what doesn't make them stronger makes them weaker. Okay.
Gotcha.
All right.
Okay.
So then the next one became our session for safety. All right. Now there were some things that came out that was necessary, like seat belts and those kinds of things, right? But let's just go to the playground thing. You know, when we grew up, we had metal sliding boards. You know, they got play grass. You know what I mean? So one, trying to take away allergies and all that kind of stuff. So the safety nets that we put around them, again, are artificial. When they go out into the real world, they got nothing to help them.
Yep.
And so it even comes down to let's go one step further, and this one is going to get a little touchy. When it comes to their emotional health, I made mention this morning. I think it was on. I marveled at God. It was on CNN about the CDC's report. I think it was the 2021 report, and is given the statistics of teenagers in 2012. Which means they were pre-Gen Z babies, okay? Depression was like 8-10% depression and suicide. Now, they did it again, right? In 2020, it's up to like 30%, all right? And the reason being is that the mental health field allowed children to self-diagnose those things that they're afraid of. And so then we try to protect them from everything that they're afraid of versus what they really should be afraid of. What doesn't make you stronger makes you weaker. So we have spent more time and energy building a world, how can I say it? Developing a world for our youth, not our youth for the world. And for that reason, what makes you stronger, what won't kill you, will make you weaker. Now, I have some things, you know, like let's go into the education system. Like the opportunity is to make up every test till you pass it. That's not the real world, you know? And then you go out to get a job and stuff. Well, can I do it over? No. Well, I got to do it over in school. That wasn't real. You see, so all of those kinds of things, we have set them up, and that's why they're in the shape they're in now. And it's not their fault. All right? So.
Hey, Doc, lay it down flat. What you got, Chuck?
I'm right on board with you. I'm fully on board with you with that. And I guess, one of the first thing I think about is tough love. I remember my granddaddy explaining to me what tough love really was. And actually, it was a quote. I was at a basketball game the other day, and the young lady says her favorite quote that her coach said is, "Just because I'm yelling at you doesn't mean I'm mad at you." And that sometimes stands so true. We're not yelling at you because sometimes we're mad. We're yelling at you sometimes for you to get the point, the point across.
Right.
And, with education, we want to protect them from certain subjects now.
Right.
Here's the truth. We can't protect them from all the history because guess what? They got phones now.
Yeah, and that's my point. I mean, we're trying to make this plastic world that shields them from everything, and that's not real. And this is what creates depression and suicidal thoughts and all of those kinds of things. Because then when they get into the real world, and the real world doesn't treat them that way, then it's like, wait a minute, something's wrong. All right? So that's where I get that we have coddled them. All right? But it's not their fault.
And one of the things I wanted to say that you mentioned is there's a difference in coddling and loving.
That's it.
You can love somebody unconditionally. I can attest to this. My big brother to my left has loved me but been upset with me. But he wasn't upset at. He was upset at the situation I put myself in, but it wasn't like I'm gonna coddle you and I'm gonna get you out of it.
Right.
I'm gonna love you. I'm gonna give you what I know.
Right.
I'm gonna give you the tools
and let you work your way out.
Through it.
Yeah. And that makes them stronger.
Yeah, and I could only get that from my big brother,
Right.
who did the same, who does the same for me.
Right.
It's to equip me to be able to, you're not gonna fish for me.
No.
You teach me how to fish.
That's it.
So I'll never go hungry.
Right. And it's sad because we're now having to walk around them on eggshells, and even in universities now, where you got to use their proper pronoun because they may sense they're unsafe. Okay? Trying to build a world that isn't real. Yeah. Go ahead, Fred.
Well, no, and I'm with you. And I was when we started meditating on the topic, it led me to the proverb, to train up a child in the way in which I know you did, Doc. I've been in your book, I've been in your notebook, in the way in which they should go. And and as I broke it down and really started looking at it, to train them up in the way they should go. Right. There's a way that God has preordained for them to go.
That's it.
Our job as generation baby boomers, millennials, and X is to, in Him, show them that way. Show them that way
so that when they go out there in that world, that's like, that word is like orientate them and train them in a way that they can navigate what's before them. That's what I'm saying. Instead of making a world for them, making them for the world.
Ready for the world, right.
So that they can push on through. And so when they get old, they got those resources. You can come back to Fred. Fred can come back to me and say, okay, wait a minute. How do I get through this? Instead of, oh, no, let us put some bumpers. Like when you go bowling, putting the bumper guards down there so your ball don't go in the gutter.
Yeah.
Now, come on, man. Yeah. Oh, don't get me started.
Well, go ahead, Charles.
Fred, we must be in each other's notes today, because I literally said we need to stop coddling the God we serve. If we literally gonna serve Him for real, they see that. So they see, Man, you only love God when He blessing you with money.
Yeah.
You only love God when you get some new shoes and clothes.
Yeah.
And I have to apologize to all my Gen Zs for us only showing y'all we only love God when we doing something.
Yeah.
Because then y'all be like, well, if y'all love God like that and coddle Him like that, man, let me do it. It should be cool.
And then if He doesn't give me what I want, then
I'm gonna go follow something. I'm gonna do something else.
Yeah. So it becomes artificial.
Yeah, like you, Pastor, excuse me, Doc, I marvel at God, you
Yeah.
know, even in nature, you know, and we've heard this before, the example of the butterfly coming out of the cocoon.
Mm-hmm.
You know, story goes, little girl saw, butterfly struggling to get out of the cocoon. She felt a heart for it. Oh, he looks like he's struggling. He's hurting, you know. Let's go ahead. I'm going to pull him up out of the cocoon, so you got to do all that work.
Right.
And, you know, after flipping and floundering around, he dies.
Mm-hmm.
And the little girl had to ask Mama, I helped him. You know, why did he still die? The mother had to explain that butterflies got to wrestle, got to struggle in order, because what that struggle's doing is allowing the blood to flow to his wings so it can fully develop.
Right.
And now it can fly away from the predator.
That's right.
You know
That's right.
Instead, this one's in here flopping around. Now a bird that came through and swooped him up.
Got him. You come lunch.
Lamb chops.
Yeah.
Again, that's that fine line. We got to be definitive in that. You know, I'm going to allow you to struggle.
Right.
I'm going to give you some wisdom in your struggle, but you're going to lift these weights. Because these weights will make you strong, and they're preparing you for what lies ahead.
Otherwise, what doesn't kill you, makes you weaker.
Yeah. So you need these struggles to make you what God's calling you to be. So.
Yeah, man, I agree. I got one. The scribe caught one.
I ain't gonna do look, define.
That's it.
Come on with it.
Protecting you from that which is real.
Okay. Look, hang on. Let me add to it, because I looked it up too, because I think we've gotten trained and versed in this elements of argument. Oxford Dictionary defines it as to treat in an indulgent or overprotective way.
Protecting you from what's real. You did.
I want Oxford.
That's why.
I want my check.
That's it.
I need this segment sponsored by Oxford.
All right.
Yeah, but like I said, I agree. And everybody to my right, all three of you guys have been very good help of not coddling people in my generation. Like you said, giving that wisdom and allowing us to understand what you're saying and how we can take it to get stronger and to build ourselves.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, hang on a second. Let me thank you from my perspective, Generation X. Thank you for being willing to listen.
Z.
I'm sorry. Yeah, being willing to listen. Because, like Doc was saying, y'all the I generation. You got the internet. You think you know a lot more than you actually do. You're exposed to a lot more.
You're exposed to a lot.
And not all of it's good.
Right.
But for a young man like you to be willing to allow yourself to be poured into, that means a lot.
Yeah.
And
I want to piggyback on that too, Fred, because I know I have personally turned off some because I might have come too hard, and that's just something I have to learn. But I attribute it to them having been coddled so much that if I come too hard too soon, they fall apart and they run. And so then you have to learn a new skill set of how to approach them.
In a Generation Z framework. And I think we're all there. Especially in family ministry, right? Those hard, like you can't coach X's like you coach Z's.
Right.
My coach called us like you said, he would yell and he would call us every 4-letter expletive in the book.
But and that didn't mean nothing.
No, I'm like, man, whatever, coach.
That's it. That's it. But now he cussed at me.
I ain't gonna do y'all like that. I ain't gonna do y'all like that. But I understand what he's saying.
I'm kind of glad you brought this to the table, Doc.
No, you're not.
No. I am because I'm starting to realize this, working with youth. And Savion can attest to this. Sometimes I'll just walk out the booth and let y'all run it. Because I'm like, they eventually going to have to learn this skill. If this is what they want to do, I can only teach them so much because I'm still learning myself.
Right.
But if I know I can entrust Savion at the youth sanctuary to take care of the sound. Now, he may have questions and things like that afterwards.
But that's that training up part.
Right. Like, I'm going to be, for example, this month, I literally I said, y'all got it. And for them to say, all right, cool. I don't want to coddle them to where I'm just overshadowing and being that.
The helicopter.
The helicopter leader and things like that. No, I'm going to take a step back.
Right.
And, okay, now you've done it. Let's ask questions like you said. You watch me do it. Right. Now you do it.
Right.
Now let's have a conversation.
Right. Yeah.
I'm going to do it.
And
you watch me. And then let's have a conversation. But if I just stand over you, you're not doing it this way. You're not doing that. Or, back up. The sound is messing up. Let me fix it.
Right.
Then you're never going to learn
I don't know about
anything.
y'all, but I've learned more in my failures than I have in my successes.
Yep.
Absolutely.
You know, so sometimes you got to let them fall. You know, when you fall off that bike, you know what I mean?
And skint your knee.
And you knew what it felt like to not keep your balance. I bet you got back up on it with a different respect and a different concentration.
Yeah.
You know.
Instead of saying, you're going to fall,
Right.
and you never fall. That's that coddling. You know, I remember letting my daughter go, and she's probably about 6 years old or maybe 5, and I let her go, and she was going down that hill, and then she said, Daddy, and she fell. I mean, she skinned up her knee. I mean, it was ugly. And she said, Daddy, why'd you let me go? I said, how you going to learn to ride? And after that, she got back up on it and took off. I could have held it longer. But so who's at his last is Savion?
Last is Savion.
Okay.
He
got note.
You heard that?
He got a notebook and cleared his throat on us too.
Hear ye him.
Yeah.
First off, I just want to say RP to Kobe. They got on the jersey today, man.
All right.
Kobe, man.
That's a real basketball team.
Oh.
Yeah. Not for the Lakers, though.
Real basketball player. There you go. Okay.
Right.
But my statement is all the generations should respect Gen Z in church. Now, I wanna not restate it, but not necessarily in church. Just respect us in general.
Okay.
And the reason I say that is like I was doing not necessarily research, but I wanted to get like an understanding of what people in Gen Z thought besides me. So this week at school, I was asking people like, you know, what do you feel like when you come to church and stuff like that? And they were like, well, I don't really go to church anymore because I feel like I'm objected to dress this kind of way and to say these things to where I can make it seem like I fit in. And when I was thinking about that, I was like, well, not necessarily how you come, it's what you do when you're here. Because you can walk in those doors every day, say, I'm going to come in here, I'm going to praise God. But when you don't do it, you're not only being suggestive to yourself, you're being suggestive to God by not doing what you said you're going to do, but you don't necessarily have to say it. You just got to do it. And, like, how do I say this?
Right.
Like me, when I was growing up, a lot of it came from you. Like, you feel me? Not in a bad way.
Okay, I'm about to say. No,
yeah. You know, we're family. We laugh, we joke, and all that. But like, with you being a minister and kind of allowing us to be open, like a family member, you say it's a open space, free environment. Whatever happens, it says in here, stays in here. I feel like that's a good way to build trust with people and build that faith to where we can come in and just like, hey, this is what happened. I need help with this. Or I want to wear this. Church, you think it's respectful, or you think people will have pushback on it? And I just feel like we should be able to come as we want, but not as others want us.
Okay.
Kind of like going back to what Charles was saying. No, we should not judge people on how they walk in.
Okay. So let me ask you. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
You good.
The respect part. So that feels like you guys in Generation Z, you feel a little disrespected.
Yeah.
When it's like, why you got this on? Why you got that on? Is that the extent of the disrespect, or what are the other areas that you've witnessed those? We don't show you the level of respect that you feel your generation deserves.
Kind of like going back to what Doc was saying, like the coddling part, and like Charles was saying, like towards the end, he was like, kind of like stepping back, sort of thing, kind of like pushing like the element of control over us.
Okay.
Like not necessarily, just like having that. It's not even
playing y'all cheap, really.
Yeah, basically.
Let Let me show you what I know.
Yeah.
Don't tell me, yeah, I got you. Okay. All right.
So define respect.
All right. Respect is kind
Spell it. RESPECT.
I forgot that song. What I'm talking about?
Old soul over here.
Respect. Let's see here. I'm gonna give you my definition.
Okay, all right. We don't want the Oxford. We want the Savion.
Yeah.
Man, I gotta get these dollars, man.
Yeah.
I'll get that one.
Yeah,
I'm trying to get that. I got a partnership. Got the deal worked out.
Yeah,
Go ahead.
yeah.
I'm gonna split that out. But my definition of respect is to give a feeling that you want and receive.
Okay.
Can I share Oxford now?
Sure. Go right ahead. Go right ahead.
This definition brought to you by Oxford Dictionary. The second definition actually says, due regard for the feelings, wishes, rights, or traditions of others. Longer one is a feeling of deep admiration for someone or something elicited by their abilities, qualities, or achievements.
Okay. All right. All right.
I'm a mailbox from all.
All right. All right.
Go ahead, Doc.
No,
you ready?
No,
look at you ready. Look, he's scrolling over there. Well,
yeah.
let me.
Go
So while
ahead.
you preparing, let me say, thank you first off for the shout, man. I'll cut you a little check and cut you in on that. But one of the things, at least in family ministry, and as we've been working in it, is a respect of who God is creating you or leading you guys to be. Who He's created you to be. And I see the uniqueness in each and every last one of you. I want to allow space for you to be that. But I also I don't want to be a permissive leader by allowing you to do just any and everything, because everything ain't good for you.
Yeah.
And if I really love you, I want to care enough to tell you, hey, bro, if you go over here, this is what it's going to lead to.
Yep.
God is that way with us. God gives us His law. His law isn't meant to, harm us. It's not meant to, make us feel lesser than or to make life unfun. It's because He loves us so greatly that He wants the best for us. And if we operate and the box is actually not as small as some people like to make it. It's actually huge. And you can, and that's the beautiful thing about Him. I marvel at Him just allowing our unique abilities and skill sets to paint within those borders. And when you paint within those borders, man, it's a beautiful picture that comes out of it. But anytime you stray outside those lines, it can be disastrous. It is disastrous because you're operating outside of the will and the way of God. But we do, there's as you said, people grow. One generation had a set way that they came to church. They called it dress to the nines. Well, that was the only time a lot of them who worked, manual labor jobs or maid jobs or domestic kind of jobs. Sunday was the only day they could dress sharp, and they came like that. So it became the tradition, and that's what we were expected to hold up to. As time progresses, it's got a little bit more permissive in there. And I don't think when somebody says that, not all of them are saying it to demean you. But I was looking through my mom's old yearbook at Logan High School, man. They came to school, collared shirt, ties, and every one of them. I mean, if they weren't a fresh cut, you could tell that they were groomed or whatever. It showed a level of self-respect that they had. And I think we've lost a little of that in being too permissive in everything, right? But I do respect the fact. Here's the thing. You can come with your tee. You can come with your jeans. But don't come with no disrespectful tee. You understand what I'm saying? So we need to meet each other halfway in this respect game. Whereas if you expect millennials and X's and baby boomers to respect you, I think it needs to be reciprocated. We need it in return, because it was never, when an elder would be like, hey, Fred, did you do? Yeah, no, because I wouldn't be here today if I had a couple, 20-minute comas because of that failure to, acknowledge and respect my elders. So I think it's a two-way street. I hear what you're saying, young brother, and I pray that we can grow in our respect for one another across generations, because I know God is glorified in that, to see multiple intergenerations getting together and loving each other and respecting each other wholly, completely for who they are.
Good job.
Charles, I want to hear from you, because
that's what I told him. I told him to go
yeah. 'Cause you looked at me kind of strange, and I was
Now I'm gonna give you some pushback, then I'm gonna come on board with you a little bit.
Okay.
You go, well, hold on, what's that called? I ain't a Benedict Arnold. That's something else. But go ahead, my bad.
I think we should all, from baby boomers to Gen Z to the next generation, respect each other. And I've noticed that if baby boomers don't respect each other, or Gen Zs or millennials or Gen Xs don't respect each other in their own group of people, they may not respect younger or older group of people. So that's where my only pushback will be, understanding that we need to respect each other in all generations. But I do see where you coming from with the respect piece. And that's why I'm willing, like you say, I'm willing to take a step back. And I think even the Bible talks about young people. I was looking at Mark 10, 13 and 16. Jesus was welcoming children. The disciples wanted to rebuke the children to come see Jesus. And he said, no. He said, no, but I want to see them.
Let them come unto
me. Let them come. And a lot of times we get, especially here, when we get our newfound clothing on Christ, when we find the new faith, we forget, wait, we got to make sure we bring somebody along with us. If you, and I love that Doc use this all the time, if you acting one way out in the world, and then you come in here and you falling down the aisles and throwing oil all over the place, your child is going to say, hold up.
You're confusing them.
You throwing me off, because in here you throwing oil all over the place, and by the time we get to
Applebee's,
tournament and chestnut,
you cussing me out.
Yeah, you cussing, and then you calling me out because I done did something wrong. That's your child, and we gotta respect you guys. We gotta respect the talent. And a few years ago, thank you, Lord, Doc was preaching on gifts. We don't respect y'all gifts that y'all have and that y'all can bring. Like, you're good with AV and sound. I ask you more questions than you ask me. And it's because I know, okay, he know a little bit more than me. You might be my younger brother, but hey, Savion know what he's talking about. That's why I reach to you. And that's why I say, hey, I can take a step back and let you lead. Because guess what? That's your gift. That's something God has given to you. He's given you many talents and many gifts, but I can tell that's a gift that he's given to you. So why should I, as an older person or an older generation, disrespect the gift God has given to you? Because I fell you short. If Jesus was willing to say, let them come, I should be a little bit like Jesus and say, let me take a little fall back and let them do what they do. And so that my pushback will be, we need to respect all generations and each other in their own cultural generations. But then we also need to say, look, if a Gen Z want to sit up front with the pastor and learn what it's like to be a pastor, let them say, wow, pastor don't want you sitting up there. You don't know, because pastor probably done gave him the okay. Come let them sit.
Absolutely.
Come let them learn.
Make room.
If you want, like I tell y'all, if y'all want to come over here and work with Jessica and Alan, they gonna make room. That's why this morning I was like, yeah, my boss is here. Because I respect you enough to say he knows more than me. So why am I going, well, I'm older. I've been here longer. And I don't, and then the sound go out, and then I'm called Savion, the computer. and I do that. I can honestly say, and I've done it when the computer would, hey, Savion, come help me. Because I'm willing enough to say, I don't know. But I'm smart enough to know that I got people around me that do know.
That's deep.
Yeah, I think it's been well said and about the reciprocal respect is basically what we're talking about. And I think the only way to have that happen, especially in this space, is for us to spend more time together other than just in worship. Because when we have family worship, we're just sitting together, okay? We used to do a thing called Generational Sunday, okay, which is a form of family worship, but it really wasn't. We used to actually have both generations. We'd come up with a song. You all would have a song, we would have a song, but we would sing y'all's song, y'all would sing our song. Well, if you come to a rehearsal, that's different than just sitting beside someone on Sunday morning. Same way with like growth groups and things of that nature. I think there's some positives that have come in our having youth church and adult church, but there are also some drawbacks. All right, because when we grew up, there wasn't but one church. Now, trust me, we didn't like it.
Amen. Like,
You know,
keep it real. Keep it real.
It wasn't for us.
Right.
All right. But if we can create a space where everybody can participate and get fed in it, then we have that chance to rub off on each other a little more for that. Fred made a great point when, again, talking about some generational stuff on why we dress like we dress. And to older generation, especially those older than me, to them it was disrespectful to not come to church in what we call your Sunday's best.
That's it, yeah.
Okay. And the reason for that was their opportunity to show God how much they appreciate it. The failure came in is when they took that and made it biblical versus traditional, and the lines got blurred. And so now they take why they did what they did and superimpose it on you, and there comes the rub. Okay. And like, well, look at them and how they're dressing, because now they're feeling you're disrespecting God. Okay. And so they start feeling, as they say, some kind of way. And it's not, it happens, what happens is they don't know you before they've already judged you because of that. But those are their self-imposed limitations. So our coming together and having some of those conversations together so one side could understand the other side, you know, would help that. And but it is a huge chasm. And there's going to be a chasm between your generation and the one that follows, okay? And the only way to ever merge them is for us to come out of our silos and come into the same spaces, and like we're having here, these kind of dialogues, and that's where the respect comes, right? And our understanding that, like Fred was saying, hey, if it wasn't yes sir, no sir, yes ma'am, no ma'am, you know. You know, it was lights out. It was lights out. You didn't do it but one time.
That's it.
You didn't do it but one time.
Yeah,
and when young folks go like, to us that's disrespectful. Okay, but the again, it comes not from you all as much as your parents allowing it, and the reason we pull back on it because we ain't like doing it. All right, and so now the pendulum is swung too far this way. And so those culture kind of things sort of, you know, get all intertwined and all twisted to whether is it biblical or whether it's, you know, traditional or whether it's cultural, you know, and try to weave all that together. So we're right there with you.
Yeah, and Doc, I don't mean
I'm
the
done.
part you brought up about, you know, we need to be more intentional about these opportunities to have intergenerational dialogue.
Yeah.
With our growth group, well, it's probably like what we call our FIRE, our young adult ministry. We've got a growth group that meets on Wednesday night at 7. By the way, email me and send you the link. But it's called Courageous Conversations.
Right.
And at first, it was, you know, Gen X, millennials, and we got to the point where we started being in the silo, and it was almost like an amen corner. We really weren't, the conversations weren't really courageous.
Right.
So what we did was we were intentional about reaching out to our college students, you know, who are millennials on the, you know, the younger end of that millennial spectrum. But even the one we had last week, it brought a whole other layer of conversation, and they were able to hear us and get where we were coming, push back where necessary, and vice versa. But throughout that, we wound up we garnered a mutual respect for each other because we spent time intentionally in the same space, albeit virtually, together. Sitting down, chopping it up. Like you said, Sunday mornings, family worship is one thing. But having coffee with somebody or a meal with somebody and really having honest and frank conversations across generations, that's where it's at.
And what we'll find out, like we say in most things, we'll find out we're more alike than we are different.
There it is.
We had things we rebelled against our parents, and things of that nature. But until we create those environments, do we know that those opportunities exist?
Savion, if you don't mind, your topic sent me to while we was talking about it, 1 Timothy, the 4th chapter and the 12th verse. It talks about, if I'm not mistaken, Paul is the writer at this time. Paul is the writer, and he writes and he says, "You are young, but don't let anyone treat you as if you are not important." And I caught that, and this is the easy reading translation. But be an example to show the believers how they should live. Show them by what you say, by the way you live, by your love, by your faith, and by your pure life. A lot of older generations can understand this verse a lot more if they saw how much y'all love Christ, how much y'all dedicate your time. And instead of them being so upset at what y'all got on or how y'all doing the AV sound or how y'all rocking and moving with the music, maybe if they just come along a little bit like some of the older generations has, they'll get some of that power and grace back too, and mercy. But we first got to appreciate y'all, because Paul even says, y'all, they young. Let them come in. Why we closing? Well, y'all not old enough to get into this service. Why? If they want to come, let them come. Let them grow. Let them make the mistakes. Because guess what? We're here to not coddle them, but to love them and say, "This is
for thus saith the Lord."
Right.
All of us, a lot of what we talked about is our developing safe spaces or spaces for us, right? And so I think I can say we need to develop spaces and places where we can properly be developed and respected. Right? We need to develop spaces and places where we can be properly developed and respected.
That's perfect.
That's right on it. That's right on it. That's right.
You got that, Doc. Wow.
Ooh. What?
Challenge awaits.
Yeah. That's a year. This is a year, and
it was hot.
It was hot.
It's good.
We do thank you guys for joining us on this episode of Four Brothers. A year, y'all. A year. We've been in it for a year. We ain't got canceled. We done had some hot topics, that people agreed and disagreed with us with.
And we're okay with
contract
that.
to be renewed.
But that's okay. If you would like, please, we do have social medias that we would love for you to follow, share, connect with us. Please go out into our YouTube page where you can see all our church services, where you can see Four Brothers. YouTube, Four Brothers. You can see Four Brothers at FMBC-Concord. Now, we love our Facebook followers. We love our Facebook likes. Please follow us at FMBC.Concord. Of course, you can always tweet us, get at us on Twitter. You know, my Gen Zs, they like tweeting. They like tweeting and TikToking. They like tweeting and Instagram. But if you want to tweet, get at us at FMBC_Concord. And if you want to see our images, our reels, and all those wonderful things, go to Instagram at FMBC_Concord. Till we meet again, God bless you. Have a wonderful day.
Yeah, brother.
All right.
Proud of you, cousin.